Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we have another StarCraft Underground game. This is going to be the finals for the losers bracket, right? So we've been following all the way along with the StarCraft 1 tournament, and you can see here this is kind of a fully spoiled out bracket, with the exception of the losers round 4, which is the game we're going to be watching today between Maine and Javi, and then obviously the results of which are in the full finals. Now, I did want to show this for a couple reasons. One, just to give credit to all the phenomenal players that have played in this tournament up until this point. We didn't, obviously stream or cast all of these matches. A good amount of them, sure, but definitely a lot of people that were involved and had a good time getting to know each other and play each other for the first time in StarCraft Underground. But I also wanted to clarify in the last video that I did, we were looking at the semifinals in the winners bracket, right? So we watched the Main and Medic Junior match, and there was a couple inconsistencies with the cast itself, right? Like at the end of that video, I had announced Main as like the winner of that. What had actually occurred was Medic Junior and Main ended up playing all three matches, even after Medic had won the first two, right? So they opted to play that third one, kind of just for fun. But it kind of confused the cast. It confused me when I was looking at the scores and the fact we had a game three. I was like, why are we going into a game three? Oh, Medic Junior must have not won that first round. So I just wanted to clarify that Medic Junior is actually in the finals, and he will be facing off against the winner of this best of three series that we're about to go into right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hide this bracket. Congratulations to everyone that had made it this far in the tournament, and we'll go ahead and open up that game right now. I also think that we should have some game volume this time. I think I screwed that up in the last cast as well. The last one was really just a botched video, but we should hear it. Hopefully it's not too loud, and hopefully we have a really good time watching this game. So we've got Javi versus Main. Let me go ahead and change the bottom to best of three. We have Javi down here as the Protoss. Now, just to note, Javi is playing random in this match. And so, Main is unaware at this point in time that Javi is playing as Protoss. Main, she is our blue Protoss up in the top right on Tokamak. Now, we do have Main building her pylon down here in the natural. We've got Javi building his pylon up here at the top of his ramp. And we do have that early scout, which is usually, so prompted when facing off against a random player. It's like, okay, what am I up against? And as you could tell in the chat, right, like, this is a tournament, there's not a whole lot of, like, courtesy, like, hey, I'm playing P this game. It's a come find out yourself, right? This is part of the advantage of someone going random. Double assimilator going down for both players. Really, you can see up here in the top left, the production looks basically identical. And I wasn't talking there. I was kind of checking to see if volume was getting through on the game volume. It does appear that it is getting through. I'd identified what that problem was. All right. Yeah, nothing crazy going on. And, I'll just take this moment, if you're watching this and you're not a member of StarCraft Underground, right? StarCraft Underground, I definitely recommend joining for a few reasons. One, it's really a program that is more fun with the more players that are in it. And it's also just a great time to get kind of casual tournament practice in a format that is very flexible for timing, right? So, each bracket, like the bracket I showed you in the beginning, each match you have a week to schedule with your opponent, right? And so I know there's a lot of tournaments out there that people join, there's amateur league, there's all sorts of team tournaments like the Chobo Team League and stuff, and all these different opportunities for people. But oftentimes, time zones, work commitments, family, whatever the case may be, busy lives do get in the way of gaming at times. And so the week opportunity to schedule each match is really what this league is all about, giving flexibility to the players so that we can get matches in. So we do have Javi rolling out here with a couple Stalkers. I also want to note we do have Stargate going up in the main. And these stalkers look like they're just marching right across. And I think Main, she might have seen it with this probe that was being chased by the other probe. And we can see here, right, this probe is kind of blocking off this wall. We've got some sentries that can also drop some force fields and get a little bit of damage here on these stalkers. Ooh, might lose the sentry. Okay, good. The shield battery was up. Did get a force field down a little bit late, though. And these stalkers are going to be able to waltz right in. Now, Main was able to pop out a stalker of her own, but there's probably going to be a couple probes that go down. Maybe not. Did damage one. A few probes are pulled, getting some lost mining time, and that is going to force a recall. Does get one of the stalkers, though, so that was good, right? Main held that very well. Not a single unit going down. And this pylon here is delaying the Nexus for our Javi for a good while, right? Main's already got the Nexus up at the natural, already have probes mining those minerals. So we'll have to see how Javi is able to kind of catch up from that economic delay, right? I imagine we're going to be seeing a Nexus go down here momentarily, and we also have Oracles hitting the field. Looks like just banking up enough resources to get that Nexus down. There we go. Hallucinated Phoenix coming out from Main is going straight across map. Is going to miss this Oracle, though. Didn't see it. Is going to see the Stargate and that it's turning. Well, I guess nothing's actually being produced out of it. Okay, now there's a Phoenix being produced out of it. And it's going to see that the Nexus is now coming up in the Stalker. So a great full scout by Main. We'll have to see how this Oracle does. Flying right behind the main base mineral line, but there are stalkers waiting there to shut it down. Almost goes down. Ooh, and this Oracle is dead. Boom. Great defense there by Main with the stalkers in both mineral lines completely split. You know, I see a lot of players, the tendency, you know, and these aren't low-level players either, right? Like, I think Main's like mid-masters or something. But a lot of players will just like completely F2 their army and chase around like the harassing Oracle, and then they're able to bounce back and forth and get a bunch of picks. But that was very disciplined and well executed. Robotics facility going down for Main. Forge being built for both players. And right now, everything's pretty even from an army and tech standpoint, I would say. But the biggest difference here is that probe deficit, right? You're really seeing the effects of having that delayed Nexus for Javi just plainly shown here, right? 10 worker deficit is going to allow Main to continue production at a much higher rate, right? Main is getting Blink up, which is going to allow her stalkers to basically just like bounce all around these stalkers that I don't think Blink has been upgraded on. And these Phoenix aren't going to really get a whole lot done, you know. I mean, they might lift a couple workers or something, but I guess he does lift some stalkers. That's going to kind of even the playing field here a little bit. But I think if Main just kind of retreats back towards the shield battery, like there's not much that's going to be able to get done here, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing. You know, this stalker is left up front, but with these stalkers here within range of the shield battery, I don't think that these are going to get the damage that Javi's looking for. And there's no workers here. Shield battery is already up. Now, shield battery is still able to heal the shield of the stalker that's lifted by the Phoenix. So, Javi opting to kind of return back to base, regroup, realizing that the army just isn't at a point where it can break through Main's defenses. But Javi did get the scout off that there's a third base going, right? So this is kind of a decision point time. Like, if you're Javi, are you going to try to push for that third base and try to deny it, or are you going to take your own, or are you going to try to do both, right? Like have a small push, try to eliminate this third base while expanding behind it. And so right now what we are seeing is we're seeing a couple gateways go down, get production up and running, 4 gateways being built simultaneously. Now this does, I don't know, maybe it's just a timing, maybe it's part of the build, but we also see the exact same thing coming from Main as well. Really interesting to see all these Phoenixes. I haven't seen Phoenix play a lot. Now, I don't particularly watch a lot of PvP if I can avoid it. But I haven't seen a lot of like heavy Phoenix play in what seems like a while. Alright. army is coming in, is trying to knock out this shield battery, which I think is a good move, especially since it was pretty low cost to do so, and now going to try to fight. Now, these Zealots, they don't have legs upgraded just yet, so they are going to be kind of slow and not really getting in the face as fast as Main would probably like, but still fast enough. Like, Main's going to clean this up pretty handedly. These Archons showing up and putting in a lot of work. The Phoenix really not, I think, paying off to the extent that maybe Javi was hoping for. And so, yeah, overall, I would say right now Main has got a pretty commanding lead. Now, we were talking about, you know, whether go and deny the third or get their own third, and it does seem like Javi tried, right? Like, poked in on that third base, you know, damaged, you know, destroyed the shield battery, maybe got a couple units, and then moved back and decided to get that expansion. So the expansion a little bit later, I don't think it's a bad decision or anything, but it is giving time for Main to kind of turtle up here and get their fourth. Now, I think Javi definitely needs to get some damage to this army done. I mean, these attacks are really just being... Yeah, I mean, Javi, I think, saw the writing on the wall there. That Main's force had just gotten too big, and if Main were to just keep going, that would have been GG. So Javi recognized that, called GG. Great game. Always a good time. I feel like PvP is just always on the, like, right on a knife's edge, you know, like PvP and then also like ZVZ. I mean, all mirror matches, I guess this applies to, but I just feel like those are so similar in builds a lot of the time that if just one thing changes or one thing goes well for one player, the other one is at a disadvantage for a long time until they can find like a really well-placed engagement. Now this round, game 2, and let me go ahead and change best of 3. And I think, nope, that's not the right way. Nope. There we go. Best of 3, Main is up 1 in this series. We are on the map Torches, which Torches is a fun map, as both players are on the same side of the map, if you want to call it, like vertically, if you split it in half. And then there's also kind of like just different zones throughout. We have these gold minerals here kind of separating the closer third to each base, and this always plays kind of an interesting part in the story of this map. Now, Main does get that early scout off into the races, going straight to Javi's base and recognizing that, okay, Javi is playing Zerg this round, and so we're gonna go have to see what he ends up doing. Now, did go hatch first, has the spawning pool going up behind his mineral line. And for Main, we have one assimilator and a gateway down here at the natural. So Probe has seen what they wanted to see. I'm curious if there's going to be any type of, you know, at this point, there's not going to be any type of like proxy or anything. Haven't really been seeing a lot of that in this tournament, to be completely fair. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for some cheese play, just based off of, you know, watching this tournament, watching some of the rounds of the tournaments that I will be casting here, since we, I think, are on our 4th or 5th StarCraft 2 tournament that's up and running. So there's a lot of games that you haven't seen on this channel yet. But overall, there appears to be a trend of just straight up play. Not a whole lot of hyper aggressive cheeses or all-ins. People have been opting to really just play it out, exercise their kind of more standard builds, and go from there. So, Zergling speed, 4 Zerglings, in addition to, or I'm sorry, 6 Zerglings in addition to the 6 already made. This does look like Javi's going to go for a pretty early, you know, an aggressive Zergling push. And I'm trying to remember, and I mean, we've casted Javi before on this channel quite a bit, actually. I think both Brood War and StarCraft 2. He just seems to be doing very well in these brackets. But I think we've seen this move from Javi before, playing random, showing up his Zerg, and I think it was a ZVZ on this map where he found pretty good success in doing something along these lines. But I might be misremembering. Now, with the probes and the adepts, I think that this is actually going to get shut down, and even with the damage that's happening to these probes, the worker advantage is still in Main's side. And, you know, that deficit is closing in, but I don't think that this is necessarily game-ending damage. Now, it does look like a pylon had gone down, which is mega annoying. And these... Okay, we're getting to the point where the Zerglings are becoming a problem. Now, the wall-off is finalized, which will help a lot. That'll give Main the opportunity to, you know, with the combination of probes and the Adept, clean this up and get back to doing what they're supposed to be doing and just powering up for the match. And I think, you know, once this Adept comes out, the second Adept shows up down here, and don't forget this Oracle that's being chrono boosted out. This Zergling push is going to be shut down, and shut down hard. I think once this Oracle hits the field, these things are all just going to melt, and we're probably going to see an Oracle with a ton of kills. We can probably even keep an eye on that. Sitting at 3 kills right now. We are at even worker count, right? So even after all this work, really, the game has just been kind of evened up. The wall off has been secured again. Okay, so now we're at a point where Main is actually starting to suffer a good amount of damage, right? We're down to 8 workers. But with this Oracle, there's just really nothing that these Zerglings are going to be able to do. Right, with the shield battery up and running, this pylon's never going to go down to the Zerglings. But that was a really good shot, right? I feel like there was a chance here. There was a world where these Zerglings, you know, and they did do a lot of damage, but could have maybe even done more. Okay, so I think that's going to fend this off. Now, what I would like to see is what direction Javi ends up going from here. Does finally get the queens out, starts getting injects going. We're seeing a lot more Ling production, which leads me to believe maybe some transition to Ling Bane. And then that would allow for kind of a busting of this wall. But with this Oracle out, like, he's going to need to fall back to the queen locations. Or, you know, I guess do this kind of scatter. Still seeing a lot more Lings. Starting to drone up a little bit, though, as well. Really trying to power this through. I don't know. The Oracle's not activated at the moment. Alright, up it goes, and you can just see the kill count here, right? 28, 29. This Oracle gaining so much value. I didn't quite see what happened there. It looked like a stasis trap was about to be set, and maybe it was triggered as it was going down or something. That was kind of a weird interaction. I might have missed the earlier part of it. Okay, this is a pretty solid position, especially once, you know, these shields start recovering. And I think the onus here is on Javi to really decide the next tempo kind of play in this map, whether he goes for an expansion and starts getting the third up, whether he techs up to be able to fend off the Oracle play. I'm not entirely sure which way he'll go, or if he goes hyper aggressive and just looks to break this down with some sort of, I don't know, maybe Baneling, maybe Roach. We haven't seen any additional tech up yet from Javi. And here comes the Oracle. I was wondering if this was going to be coming in at some point. We do see the Oracle coming in, starting to do a little bit of counter damage, knocking out a lot of drones. 7 drones going down, and that was just after Javi had spent a good amount of time droning up. And the Oracle is going to survive. Now up here we do see Lair being mutated and a second extractor, so definitely gassing up for something. Just curious what direction Javi is going to go. Right now the Oracle's kind of sharking around, keeping an eye out for bases, understanding that this probe here has still yet to see a third. And I think the Oracle path probably traveled up through here as well. Maybe he'll be coming in double checking. But Main's Oracle shields are back up and running and ready to come in here and knock out a few more drones. Now the Spore Crawler has shown up, and that is gonna delay any, you know, severe amount of damage. And so the Oracle's kind of pushed off. Okay, so we have opted to go for Roaches. So we'll see how quickly he can get a nice-sized army of Roaches to try to bash against this. That does seem to be kind of the play. Additional Oracle hitting the field. Another one being made here. Forge and Twilight Council going down as well. So right now, you know, both players just respecting each other's position. right? Javi came in through the first punch, got a good amount of damage, really slowed down the game, I think. Not having droned a lot during that Zergling push, and knocking out so many workers for main really kind of made it seem like we're walking through, you know, like sludge or something. Like, we got to get our feet back underneath us and get back after it. And 2 oracles coming in, getting 2 drones really quickly. Gonna try to pick off this queen, but the queen's gonna probably just run back to the spore crawler and it'll be fine. Does see the roaches pop out though. Not sure entirely what the reaction will be. Right now it does look like we have blink stalkers about to be made. A couple gateways being warped in. Shield batteries. Okay, so that, I think this is the reaction to what main had seen, right? So saw the roaches, stasis trap here, get some shield batteries. This is a very tough position to break. Now we do see the probe go down up here at about the 11 o'clock position and the third base gets started. So this is an opportunity, I think, where if main wanted to get on the map and hit somewhere, this is probably the vulnerable spot. But with that being said, there's still a bunch of Zerglings everywhere, right? So if this wall gets intentionally reopened, which I don't think main's going to do that. Main is over here mining out these gold minerals. Going to get a third in this location. The defense is going to kind of transition from here, and this is going to be the primary ground attack path. Let's go ahead and see what these oracles do. 3 oracles pack quite a punch. Not all of them have full energy, but that's okay. And I also want to see what the kill count is here. 39. Wow. I wish it was like Brood War. I think Brood War did this. I think as units got kills, they like ranked up. You know, like they had a little word here. It was like the Marine is a sergeant, but after like 10 kills, it becomes like a lieutenant or something. I might be misremembering that, and maybe it's just by unit. But this Oracle is definitely a hero Oracle. Okay, yeah, so opting to take advantage of kind of the vulnerability of this base going up, having seen that the probe got killed, is opting to come over here and swag some drones. I don't know if the Oracles are going to have the energy to do this. And also, if you pay attention to the minimap, the counterattack is coming in real strong. Okay, so 2 Oracles have spent their energy, and I do want to just keep an eye on this. Are these Oracles going to kill this? Wow! Oracles ended up melting that hatchery. I gotta admit, I don't think I've really ever seen that happen with a hatchery that had so much health, right? Like, it was pretty fresh. Ooh, good stasis trap. You know, the biggest thing about this is it's going to really limit the surface area that these Ravagers and Roaches have to actually hit these buildings, right? Like, less so that it stopped these Zerglings, but it just stopped from getting a really good concave. And oh my gosh, the shield batteries, the Guardian Shield, the Stalkers, just doing so much damage to this army. And now the Oracles with some energy back up and running. This is a high-cost attack. And I think, you know, the best bet here is that this gateway goes down. Ooh, both gateways go down. And that's going to, you know, be enough damage to where Javi feels comfortable on retreating, knowing that he was not going to be able to get up in there and actually win this fight, but did get up, took out a couple gateways, saw what main was working with, and is probably, you know, having to go back and recover from this base being lost. Okay, and over here for main, we have another base going down. So sitting at 3 bases to 2 bases and almost a third for the Zerg. I would say Javi's position here, I think is pretty tough, right? A little bit less than desired. A lot of early aggression has kind of slowed down this mid-game development for Javi, and I think that this needs to get up and running as fast as possible. But it's always that Zerg balance of how much time do we want to spend droning versus using the larva for army. And right now we are seeing, you know, a bunch of overlords. We're seeing army form, and the army size is looking pretty good for Javi. I wish that Javi had actually attacked into this base with that huge roach force than this this entrance. I think we would have seen a lot more damage done if that was the case. But I'm not entirely sure what his scouting had seen, or if he's even aware of this base at this time. All right, a couple Zerglings are going to be bouncing out, get an idea of what's happening on the map. I think Javi might be expecting this base to be taken by Main. Okay, so his Overlord did see Main's army push to the gold minerals here. And I think this is going to be the point. Okay, I'm curious where he takes this. He may be standing in wait, right? And once Main's army hits here... Oh, I don't think he was going for the interception there. Oh, and the blink. Okay, so blink's right on top of it. Big spread, okay? The spread is definitely going to be helping out for the storm. That pair of storms was really huge. But still, I think Javi's engagement's going okay for him. Having a good surround on this Protoss army. And the storms are spent, right? So, like, the damage was done, and it was a lot. But it did not completely cripple the army. Now, I don't think Javi can push with this. Opting to morph some really hurt roaches into Ravagers, which is always a great little technique. And both the army supplies are relatively even, right? But another base is going down for Main. Now, this base needs to be denied, and we do see movement from the Zerg army heading over here. Takes out the probe immediately, going for the pylon, gets the cancel on the Nexus. Good. That was definitely something that Javi needed to get done. If that base got up and running, that would have been very, very tough from an economic standpoint for Javi to recover from. All right, Javi keeping the aggression going. I really enjoy how aggressive Javi is. It's just really fun to watch. All right, another base attempt here coming from Main. We'll see if that gets canceled. It actually gets destroyed, so that was a good pick from Javi, as Main is, attempting to take these two separate bases and neither one being successful. Hey, look, I can zoom out. Very cool. Okay, good little... Oh my gosh, the storms! I don't think Javi is looking at this army at the moment, and this little contingent of it just gets wiped out. Ooh, seeing some drones go down. The pesky Oracle. Now, that wasn't our hero Oracle. That Oracle only had 10 kills, but 6 of them were drones. Now, we do see a fourth base going up for Javi up here in the top left. While having denied a fourth base so far for our Protoss player. Right now, this is an absolute banger of a match, right? So, like, I think Javi is getting to the point where he is recovering. He's starting to tech up again. Or, I'm sorry, that's the hatchery. Yeah, no terrible tech, just normal upgrades going on. And here comes a Ling run by, but wow, is Main prepared for that. Cannons everywhere, 2 shield batteries. I don't know where the probes are dying. I think that was probably from these Zerglings. And also, if you watched the last stream, this wasn't happening. I don't know why the worker kill count wasn't popping up. I think I'd accidentally hit a button, but I'm glad to see it back and that it's returned. 2 shield batteries, which seems to be Main's kind of like MO. She usually like drops a base, plops down a couple shield batteries. Big fan of the Archon play. Spend the storms, get the Archons. Lurker dead. Alright. We'll be seeing Lurkers hit the field here momentarily, which makes sense, and it's probably expected by Main, having seen the number of Hydralisks running around. Now, the Hydralisks are just good in general, especially with the amount of Oracle damage that's been happening. But there's probably an expectation that, like, okay, we're gonna be seeing Lurkers pop out here sooner rather than later. Stalker's getting an Overlord pick. I'm glad to see the creep spread also start getting utilized here. It's definitely going to help with Javi's both vision and aggressive play, right? Like, I feel if the creep spread was a little bit more prevalent earlier on, there might have been some prevention on some of the Oracle damage that was coming across, right? It would have been identified. And then also, like, the Zergling moves and the Roach attack, like, all of those would have landed across the battlefield much, much quicker. Good Storm here, hitting a couple of Hydralisks. Gosh dang, I hate Storm. Storm is so annoying to play against, and this is why. It just melts everything. Look at this. It's basically just a point-and-click eraser. And that's going to be the game, right? So game 2 does go to Maine, and Maine is going to earn her spot in the finals with a 2-0 victory over Javi. Now, very exciting. Great job to both players, but this is a rematch opportunity. And this is why I love StarCraft Underground and why I love the flexible time and the amount of time you have to prepare for your opponent, because she's about to go against Medic Jr., which they just faced off and had in a 3-game series a 2-1, right? So a very possible maybe upset here going into the finals, where Maine knows her opponent, right? They've played, and there's some material to study, and there's an opportunity to go into that best of 5 and take the finals in our first ever StarCraft 2 tournament. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.